Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a lovely day. Thank you so much for joining me for Try It Out Tuesday. We're making a birthday card today with a few items from PhotoPlay. This is a balloon stencil by Becky Moore with her Say It with Stamp series. And this is every shape of balloon you can imagine. The nice thing about this stencil is that there is a coordinating die set. I have a negative piece, one left over. You could keep it if you wanted to, but I think I'm just going to toss that. There's only one with the stencil. But nice thing again is the die set. It's great on, they're either great on their own, but it's nice having a die set to cut out your balloons. This does line up to your stencil beautifully, leaving a little bit of a white border. You can see it lines up that heart balloon. There's a heart, a star, a little long skinny wonky one, circles, traditional balloons, and then an oblong one, which is nice. This is the big dots background stamp. We're going to use this for our card today too. This is 5 1/4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. So it's not going to cover your entire card base, but if you like to trim down panels for your card fronts, you'll like this stamp set because it works out perfectly. Let's create some balloons, some quick and easy ones. I already sprayed my stencil with my pixie spray. I'm going to add it to some white cardstock, and just using my electric tape, I'm going to go ahead and mask off the areas around it. I'm going to color in 3 balloons, so I just want to make sure I don't get ink on the other side. We'll start off with this long oval one. We're going to mask this off, and we're going to use our Distress Oxide inks, which is very easy to color in. I'm going to use 2 different tones of colors, a light and a dark. So this is Worn Lipstick. I'm going to use my blending brush and just lightly go over it. I think I'm going to add a little more color on top here. And then just to give it a little dimension, it's easy to do. Just grab your darker ink. This is Picked Raspberry, and go over the left or right side of your balloon, and it really does add a little bit of depth to them. Makes it very easy. So there's my pink balloon. We're going to remove our stencil here, and 1 balloon's down, and our next one, I think we're going to color in the heart. So we'll remove our post-it note tape here. It's actually electric tape. And we'll mask off the other sides of our pink, our next balloon. Next balloon, we're using greens. This is Twisted Citron. And then I'm going to bring in a little bit of Mowed Lawn to highlight the little heart balloon. We'll go over here to the right. So both of these are highlighted to the right, and then our next balloon I think we'll highlight to the left. Next balloon, we're going to line up our stencil, and this time we'll use the star one, and we're going to use some blues. This is Tumbled Glass, very pale blue. I think I have a little bit of broken china on my brush, so it's a little bit darker than the Tumbled Glass, but that's okay. Now to highlight this balloon, we're going to bring in Mermaid Lagoon, and we're going to highlight it to the right this time. Just do a little bit of shading. Pretty easy peasy to create these balloons, and sky's the limit. If you wanted to create a rainbow balloon, you very well could. I think that would be really pretty. Actually, I should have did that. I think that would have been really nice. But anyway, we're going to roll with our pink and our green and our blue balloon. Now we're going to go ahead, line up our balloon strings. We're going to color those in with my black soot very carefully. I didn't want to mask it off. I think I had a lot of ink already on my electric tape, and I didn't want to mask off using another piece. So I just going to be real careful and color in 3 strings. And I could barely get them in there, but I think it's going to work out great. Now the nice thing about the string die, guys, if you just want to die cut it out with black cardstock, you have an instant string. So you don't have to worry about coloring it in too. Okay, now there's highlights on here. I'm going to go ahead and use a towel and wipe off my stencil, get all that ink off of here, and then we're going to add a little highlight. I'm using a regular Distress ink. This ink pad, it's been in my craft room for a long time, and I really need to replace it. It's pretty darn dry. I either need a re-inker or a new ink pad. I'm adding it to the highlighting pieces for the balloons, and it's there. You'll be able to see it in the close-ups, but it's just not as, I think really white highlight would look really pretty. Go ahead and do the same thing with my heart balloon, and then we're going to flip it around and add a little highlight with the star. There's one that's almost like a V shape. I'm going to add that to my star balloon here. But the highlights just really does make a difference. You add with the two-tone and then the highlight, it really makes a dimensional balloon. I'm going to separate my dies, and now we're going to line them up and die cut them out, strings and all. And our balloons are good to go. When I snip them in a towel because there's little metal pieces. So I'm just going to grab my string, and it's I couldn't figure out, guys, why my string was not fitting, and it's because I was using my stencil upside down. I sprayed the wrong side of my stencil with pixie spray. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has did that. So I have to actually go wash my stencil and then stencil in 3 more balloon strings with the right side up. I suggest using a Sharpie and labeling your stencil. That way you know which is right side up. The balloons worked out great because they're kind of symmetrical, but the strings won't die cut if it's upside down. So trial and error. Now we're going to create our background using our big dots stamp. Now again, this stamp is 5 1/4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I don't mind that at all because I always trim my panels down to have a little bit of my card base showing. So this works out perfectly. Price point's nice too, guys. I'm going to go ahead and stamp. I treated my paper already with my anti-static powder bag, and now I'm stamping with Versamark ink. I'm stamping a few times, and then we're going to take our panel and add some white embossing powder over those polka dots. I think the white against that dark gray cardstock is going to really make it pop. We're going to use grays for our background today. Once my background's covered with white embossing powder, I'm going to go ahead and use my heat gun and melt all of those polka dots, and then we have a nice festive little birthday background. I'm going to let those dots cool, and then I'll rub away the powder that I left from my powder bag, and then we'll trim it down. I trimmed it down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, taking 1/4 inch off of my panel. Now this piece of cardstock we're going to trim down to 2 3/4 inches wide. This is a very pale gray cardstock, so we went with light and dark gray for our background. I'm going to be using my stitched cloud line dies. These are from Poppy Stamps. I think I picked these. I'm pretty sure I picked these up at Simon, but I don't think they have them anymore. But cloud lines like this are very popular. If I can find some substitutes, I'll list them in the description area down below. But I just created a border with it. The polka dots kind of drown it out, but I wanted some stitch detail in the very bottom, and I just thought it'd be fun. If you have a scallop border, you could use a scallop border on the bottom. But I'm going to take my panel, put it on my card base. You can see it leaves me a little bit of a white border. And then after this is adhered, we're going to arrange our little balloons. I'm going to arrange them in a three little piece cluster. And I did add adhesive behind them so it would lightly tack down, and then we'll pop it up all at once. I was just going to use the balloon and decided I'm going to add a frame. So to create my frame, I'm using some scalloped rectangles, and I'm taking a slightly smaller one, and then I'm going to cut out a regular rectangle on the inside. It's going to give me a stitched scalloped edge, but with my regular rectangle die, it's going to make a frame from it. So I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, and our frame is ready to go. I'm going to layer my balloons inside my frame, so some's going over, some are going under. And once I'm happy with this, I'll flip the entire thing over and add some foam tape behind it. It's easier to add foam adhesive for me once it's all together than doing it in little sections. So I'll cut some thin strips along that border on the other side there, and then I popped it up and put it on my little pale gray cloud bottomed panel, which I popped up too with foam adhesive. I just placed it in the center of my card base. The pink balloon did overhang a little bit. You could see I trimmed that off on the very top, and then I did trim a tail of my balloon on the very bottom too. Now for my sentiment, I'm using the You sentiment stamp. This is really nice. It has the U that you can stamp, and then it has an outline and the U that you could die cut out. I'm die cutting out the outline with vellum, the U with basically the same color cardstock that I used for my polka dots, and then I die cut out 2 extra ones with white cardstock. I thought we'd add a little dimension to our sentiment. So I'm using my glue, and we're layering 2 white U's together. And I'll add a little more glue, and then we'll add our 3rd U, which is the gray one, right on top. This way, when we add this to our vellum, we have some dimension, and I don't have to worry about. It is a pretty thin U, and I don't think you can get some foam adhesive behind it. So this is an alternative. We'll just line this up, and we're good to go. We're going to flip it around, add some more glue, and then this is going to go on our vellum piece. And we'll just line it up centered, and then we have a little bit of vellum showing. You could use white cardstock if you wanted, but I thought the vellum would be nice. Just a different texture for our card. I'm going to bring in an acrylic block to weigh that down so it can set all together, and I did stamp the rest of my sentiment with some black cardstock and heat embossed it with white embossing powder. This sentiment says, "Today I celebrate with..." No, wait, "Today I celebrate you" will be this entire sentiment. I was showing you the stamp set, that the die set that you can use to trim out those sentiments can work with all the Say It With Stamps sentiment sets. So you just buy one die set, and because I have the Wish sentiment like this, you can has the sentiments and the big well, I have blessings, and I have today. There's lots of Say It With Stamps sentiment sets that are really nice. I'm going to go ahead and add a little glue to my U, and then also to my frame. And I'm not going to add any adhesive. We'll just use glue to glue this down. Basically, I have the frame and my blue balloon to adhere my U to, so it's kind of floating, which is really nice. And I did pop up my sentiment that says "Today I celebrate" with foam adhesive, so we have dimension there too. I'm gonna just finish off my card with just some sequins, some clear sequins. We're gonna add a few for a little bit of sparkle, just gluing those down, and then that finishes off my card today for Try It Out Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I wish you a fantastic rest of your week. Sorry about my phone. I almost made it through without it going off, but thanks so much for joining me. Have a lovely day. Everything's listed below, and if you guys want to see still shots, head on over to my blog. I'll list the coordinating blog post down below too. Have a great day. Again, we'll see you soon. Bye.